Greetings one and all. How's everybody doing this evening? I see lots of names I recognize, and lots of names I recognize from the competition that you're probably thinking I've forgotten about. But yeah, I haven't. How's everybody doing tonight? It feels very much like a Monday still. Sorry about the racket. But it's not. It's Tuesday. It's Tuesday the 6th, 7th of February. 7 days into the month, and I still haven't got the whatchamacallit, the results from the photo competition. Can everybody hear me? Laura, Fred, Tom, Gustavo? No, nobody. Phil, calcium for the people, eh? Love it, love it. All right, let me see. As soon as somebody gets, yes, Gustavo can hear me. Of course, he's in Texas, so he can probably hear me without the computer thing going. A couple of brief announcements, as always. Don't forget, I'm going to remember this time, don't forget to like or subscribe or do something like that. Hit the thumbs up. Do whatever it is Amy5 tells you to do at the end. She'll probably say, do the thumbs up. Apparently it makes a huge difference. Don't forget to highlight my name if you have a question so that I can see it as the comments go by. What do we have coming up this week? Another live stream on Thursday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, US Central Time. 8 o'clock in the evening, London time. And what else? There's something else coming up. Well, the photo competition has long ago been finished as far as the judgment goes. But there have been multiple wrinkles in the fabric of space-time when it comes to getting the thing put together. Some of it's just the fact that it needs to be edited, and another part of it is it has grown too long. Let me explain what I did. Last time was too long because I went through every photograph. So this time I decided I wouldn't go through every photograph. I'd just go through the honorable mentions and the winners. Now, that was what I was going to do. And then last week, friend of the show, remind me, who's my friend? One of the friends of the show, I can't remember who it was, asked me to do this. Somebody asked me to please provide a list of the criteria I use for judging photographs in the photo competition. And it'll come to me in a minute who asked me to do that. But anyway, I did it, and then I thought, you know what would be good? Would be to do it in the video. So that I can tell you the 11 things that I look at. And I decided once I got into it that it was actually making for a pretty interesting video, because what I was doing was pulling images from the competition from the last month as examples of people who scored a perfect score on that criteria and those who scored a less than perfect score. And it was a chance to show a lot more of your pictures and talk a little bit about how I do the judging. And I think it'll be very useful for anybody who really is trying to get a handle on how to have a picture win in a competition. So that has turned it into a big long video. In fact, I'm already at a 40-minute video just for that first part, just the telling you about the criteria. So what I'm going to have to do tonight is split it into two and do a separate awards thing for the winners. Just bear with me, it'll be worth it. And once we get everything ironed out, it'll be smoother sailing, I promise, because a lot of this stuff is going to be automated and things will just get easier. As will things like you trying to get me to answer a question about what adapter you need. I'm going to show you a lens assembly in just a second that you are absolutely going to want to try. And I'll show it to you, and the first question that you'll have, excuse me for yawning, I didn't sleep well last night. I'm not bored or anything like that. If I'm bored, I'll just walk away. and somebody will have to come fetch me. But you'll ask, well, what are the adapters you're using? Well, there is going to be a time in the not too distant future where that question will be answered almost as quickly as you can think of it. And I'm not going to say any more for right now, but just be aware that radical changes are on the way in the near future. Okay, so where was I? Should we hold on to the lens for just a second? I think we will. And let me see if there's any questions. P85 wants to know if I was able to look up the name of the chemical for cleaning wax. That's a good question. So what I'm going to do is, while you watch, I'll tell you what, while you look at the lens we're going to be talking about, I will do a very quick search for the PDF that I made that has the name of that crazy drug I can't remember. It's not a drug, it's a cleaning agent specifically for wax. It'll come to me in just a second. It's probably the only... Here it is. Nope, that's not it. Just chat amongst yourselves. I have got a story to tell you about a weevil tonight. I was two stories. I was preparing a weevil to put on the test bed over there to shoot, to show you how this lens works. Didn't get around to that, but I catapulted this weevil across the room, and it flew about 20 feet in the air before landing on the ground and skidding under a chair. It's absolutely undamaged in any way at all. That was quite amazing. Didn't even break his nose off, and his nose is longer than his body. Okay, here it is. I found the thing. Oh, it doesn't have the table on it. Here it is. Okay. No. It should be, the PDF I have now found, but it's a bit too small for me to read. Sorry. Let me open up a larger copy and I'll put it on the screen. Does anybody want this PDF? It's all the chemicals that I use. It appears to have opened up underneath something else. Here it is. Okay, for decontamination, remove wax buildup with Cellusolve. There you go. That's it. Cellusolve. You want to see what the thing looks like? Yeah. If I sound just the slightest little bit discombobulated, I was very late getting started this evening and getting ready because of several other things going on and a bit frazzled. But this is the PDF that I put out some years ago, restoring dehydrated insects, and under cleaning or decontamination, remove wax buildup with Cellusolve and recondition compound eyes with Decon 90. Now, have you guys all been availing yourselves? I know a lot of you have of the Decon 90 giveaway that I'm doing. I'm not doing it. Allan Rechtenwald is doing it, and Jan Nelson is doing it. These are the people that gave me the Decon 90. I have a half a spreadsheet full of names and addresses, and I will be sending them out in batches as soon as I get the bottles. And 2 people have volunteered to donate bottles, and that will be 25 bottles plus the ones I've got, and that will be all the Decon 90 I've got. So here's the deal. I will take as many as I can to the post office to mail at a time with the funds that I have on hand. Okay, so if you want to see your Decon 90 sooner, chip in some funds for the shipping kitty. I promise I'm not going to make a penny off of this. Everything that I get given in donation goes to the post office. It's about $13 to send a bottle in a package so it doesn't leak, and it's more than that to go to England and what have you. But anyway, we've already talked about that, so I can remove this bottle from the table. These are the bottles that I ordered. They're Nalgene, and they'll be great for storing your Decon 90 in. One thing that I've mentioned several times, and I'll mention it again, is Decon 90 is it's a lye-like chemical. It's a powerful, strong base. It's potassium hydroxide. Potash is what's in it. And that is very much like lye. And it'll burn you. And it will blind you if it gets in your eyes. And it'll kill you if you get it down your esophagus. So you have to treat this stuff in its concentrated form very, very carefully. In its dilute form, you have to treat it very, very carefully, but it's dangerous, so be careful with it. And I seal it in a bag, a vacuum thing, as well as the bottle, so it shouldn't leak. Okay, so where was I? Looking at the note. So Cellusolve is the name of the stuff, P85, and it does work. Let me see. Susan, hey, how are you doing? And Toluca, greetings. And Macro Everything Around Me is going to be excited to, well, I shouldn't blow the surprise, should I? Okay, Daniel from Wet White Rock. What's the difference? BC, British Columbia. Patrick, greetings. And clear audio and video I got from P85. That's good. Let's see if we've got any questions down here. Phil, I did not realize that you were in, when you list your address as Cambria and then CA, I didn't know what you were talking about. Is that in California? I think it is, isn't it? I've been laboring under the impression that you were in Canada. I'll be danged. Hara, welcome. Laura, I know where you're from, the state of Peoria, which is near Chicago, I think. Good day, Fred. Andrew, everybody is here tonight. Larry? Bill made it. Bill, I didn't think you were going to. Glad you made it. We're going to be talking tonight about stereo, and I'm going to introduce a couple of the concepts that you'll want to know about. And I'll remind you that we have a stereo competition coming up in the summertime. It's either going to be June or July. And all the entries will have to be stereo. And I'm going to show you, tell you, make a video to instruct you on how to make stereo images so that you can enter the competition and very possibly win. Because it'll be new to a lot of people, but it is tremendous fun, and once you've done it, it's a blast. But I'll be talking about that in just a moment. Aloha, Carlos. Is that what you say in the Midwest? I thought that was what you said in Hawaii. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what you say in Hawaii. Fred. Honorable mentions and winners. Yeah, that's for the competition. That's what I'm going to do for the video. And because of the length of the criteria video, I'll split them, and that's what I'm going to do tonight, like I said. So, gosh, I hope tomorrow. It's been such a long edit. All right. Hi, Alistair. Welcome. And from Gatineau, Gilles. Every one of you guys that comes to this submitted pictures this month to the competition. That is wonderful. That is wonderful. What you need to do, though, is try to get some other people to commit to putting some photographs in. I mean, it's certainly worth doing. It's a great way to learn a little bit about photography. All right. Carlos is talking about testing radical changes. That sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? Whatever you're up to there, Carlos, just don't cut my power off to the television here. Let me see. Bruce, good day. And wasps. We're going to do wasps tonight. Bruce's wasps. They are incredible. I don't know if any of you stayed till the end last time, when I had to scramble to find Bruce's wasps, which I begged him the week before to please send us some so we can see them. They are amazing photographs. You won't see sharper looking wasps. What happened on February the 4th, 2023 on Patreon? Art? I don't know. What happened? February the 4th. When was that? That was Sunday? Yeah, Sunday. Nothing. Absolutely nothing happened on the 4th. Oh, if the 4th was Saturday, it was we had the Patreon meeting, the gathering, the picnic, the breakfast. 8 o'clock in the morning, we all got together and chat for a couple of hours. That's the thing that we do on Patreon is I put on my dressing gown and we meet together in the lounge and just talk for 2 hours about whatever you want. It's great fun. I love it. And yeah. Decon 90 for ultrasonic cleaning bath. Absolutely not, Tom. I would not do that ever, for several reasons. First of all, the stuff already makes the legs of little insects fall off. It's very, very caustic. And if you heat it and then vibrate it, I can't imagine even a big bug could survive that for long. I would not put any in there. Use it dilute and use it sparingly. I don't even dip very much. I just put it on with a paintbrush usually. Put it on with a paintbrush and then rinse it off with water a few seconds later. Listen, there's a phenomenon I've been meaning to tell you guys about that is just the craziest thing to watch. If you have a beetle, anything with a good sturdy exoskeleton, and it's filthy, and you decide you're going to give it a quick wash in Decon, and you do a dip and then a rinse. Do that a couple of times. After about a minute, the limbs will start moving spontaneously. Even a bug that's been in a bottle of alcohol for a year, the legs will start stretching out and then snapping back in again. It's really creepy to watch. And as you dry them, they just, they keep doing that until they fix, either extended or scrunched up, and then it's hard to move them after that. So I usually stay with the bugs while they're drying so I can position them where I want them. But anybody who has only ever used Decon to recondition eyes, you won't have seen this. But anybody who's been using it to relax bugs or to clean them has seen this, I'm sure. Let me know in the chat if you've seen it. And yeah, that would be interesting. I am going to be doing some serious upgrades to the studio in the coming weeks. In addition to getting a hardware solution that will make it easier for me to concentrate on you and not the computer, I'm also getting some additional cameras. I really want to get fixed cameras at all of the different posts here in the studio, so that I can go from rig to rig and show you what's going on instead of just sitting at the desk. So I'm working on that and looking at options. If you want to be a part of that and want to chip in for it, you're more than welcome to. There's a little thing at the bottom of the page that has a dollar sign in it. I think if you click that, there's a machine that sucks some money out of your wallet. I think. I don't know. I've never clicked on it. Though I would support me, I think. All right, so let me see. Paul, hi from Minnesota. And Walt, did you see the email I sent you? Probably not. When did you send it? A year and a half ago? If you sent it through Patreon, I would have got it. If it was a Patreon message, Patreon messages I get and answer. That's another part of the Patreon thing. The email now is honestly, it's so hit and miss. I'll answer emails when I see them, but I mostly don't see them. I have thousands and thousands of emails that have not been opened because I don't have the time to get to it. Oh, thank you, Carlos. Chipping in for studio upgrades. Brilliant. Leading the way to a better studio. So what did the... Walter found a solution that will enable OBS and Zoom audio to work together. Well, pray tell, what is it? I have tried every supposed solution that there is, and they all work except on Macs. Has been my experience. But please, I will find your email and I will get to the bottom of that. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate it. P85. I was just working on using the reversed 52.8 with the Raynox. Had a whole essay planned out and I beat you to it. Well, good. Wait till you hear what... Well, I'll tell you what, don't wait anymore. I'm gonna change gears and take a pause from the questions to show you something. I may have mentioned this in passing last week. I think I did mention it in more than passing on Thursday. So if this is old news to you, bear with me. Two people, one from this chat on, one from this live stream on Tuesday and one from the live stream on Thursday, got in touch with me. Both ladies, neither of whose names I can remember because I forgot to write them down. Both asked me, hey, have you ever tried using a Raynox on the EL Nikkor enlarger lens as a lens combo? Like, I guess you probably want to see what the camera sees. Good idea. Let's do that. So this was what they were talking about, was taking this on the end of some extension tubes with your camera over here where my finger is. So reversed orientation, and then putting a Raynox in front of it in normal orientation. The way this would work is that the Raynox would provide the reversed EL Nikkor with an enlarged view. That's how a diopter works with your camera. It presents your macro lens with a slightly bigger version of what it's looking at. And that's how it works. So I thought, well, I'll try that. That should probably just give you a lot of terrible artifact and fringing. But I tried it, and it actually didn't work too bad. You could get to about 2x with it, and the picture wasn't too bad. And I was mentioning it to Rick Littlefield of Zerine fame the next day, and he said, oh, that's not what I would have done, which is a terrible thing to hear from Rick. When somebody like Rick says, that's not what I would have done, that means you're an idiot, is the translation for that. What he would have done, and his explanation was very good, was when you're using an enlarger lens as a macro lens, you're using it backwards, because in its normal orientation, you're photographing something big and making it small on the sensor. When you turn it around, you're focusing on something very close that's very small and making it big on the sensor. So the lens is just doing the thing it normally does, only backwards. Then he pointed out to me that if you were doing that, you would probably use a relay lens if this were synonymous with a microscope objective. You'd probably use a relay lens behind it, not in front of it, and you'd probably also reverse it the way we do with most of our relay lenses. He said that what he would try would be this, putting the EL Nikkor in reverse orientation, putting the Raynox in reverse orientation, but closer to the camera. So that is exactly what I did, and I eliminated the space between the two lenses, so there really is only a couple of millimeters here. Sorry. Here. And this is the end result. This goes on my bellows so that I can change the extension, change the magnification. And I have just been shocked at how clear it is. Really bewilderingly clear. I mean, I can't explain. It's sharper than the El Nickel for some reason. And the pictures are lovely. I've been shooting weevils this evening. I had hoped to have some pictures ready to show you. You know what? I'll show you some individual frames. Just, you see, if we had 4 cameras, you would have been able to see that that's really what I did. I walked over there and came back again. So I'll just pull a frame or 2 off into Lightroom and show them to you. This is the screen that I'm sharing over on the side. But it really is good. I couldn't see on the camera any evidence of chromatic aberration. It looks as flat as most enlarger lens images do. It's very impressive. And the computer is very, very slow. So I'm going to just share the screen with you again. And we can just... These were all taken with this new lens combination. And let's find the one near the middle that's fairly in focus. Maybe one with a nose showing. There you can see the... this is a weevil, of course. And I'll just go through a few of the pictures and you can see how sharp that is and how magnified. Well, you don't know that this weevil is teeny tiny. So this is at 4 times magnification. And I can't believe how beautiful it is. So to the 2 ladies that I kind of gave a rather negative answer to, saying something like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like it would work. Once again, I'm wrong. It clearly does work, and it looks like a very interesting lens combination to try out. So you can anticipate seeing this in a video. See how bright it is? Lovely. Look at that. Look at that thing's nose mouth. There. They load a little bit quicker once they're imported, but let's have a look there. That's a better view than I got with my microscope objectives of this weird clippy nose he's got. This is actually his mouth, by the way, at the end of his nose. I am very, very impressed. There is a little fringing, but it's minimal. Yeah, we'll have to see. And I took another pictures of another creature too. Oh yeah, this is a cool weevil that I photographed him, and you've seen pictures of him in other videos. But he was so ugly and just so uninteresting. I stopped photographing him, and I just found him again today, and he's been. Oh dear, he's gone. Oh, there it is. And he's been sitting out, but when I washed him with Decon and dried him, he is covered in blue-green scales that I didn't see before. And yeah, this is going to be a treat to stack this. So this was the new lens combination as well. But this weevil has a lot of rich color that I hadn't noticed. It was caked in mud when I got it. See, very nice colors. Decon 90 just lifts all of the grime off of these bugs. It's magical how well it does it. You don't need to do really much of any physical agitation. In fact, I don't recommend you do any at all. What I do is dip and then move it back and forth in a dish of cold water, and that agitation lifts off the dirt with the detergent in the Decon. Very, very effective. So what I'm going to do is a quick retrieval of Bruce's wasps, because I want you to see these right now because they're so beautiful. All right, so I got I met Bruce years ago now, and we got to be fast friends because we just talked the same language. And his photography is just amazing, and I just fell in love with it right from the start because he's so meticulous and so careful about doing everything exactly right. And he's got these pictures of wasps. Last year it was just bees he was shooting, and got some of the best bee shots you'll ever see. In fact, he and I did a video together where he taught you everything that he knows about bee photography, bees in flight photography. So it looks like we're probably going to need to get him on to talk to us about wasps. Let me see if I can switch the screen over. I have territory issues again. So here's one of the wasps, and I'll get the others ready while you marvel at that. The color and the detail, absolutely beautiful. I've never seen a wasp blowing a booger like that before. I wonder if they all do that, or it could be just having a drink, I suppose. Let's see. Oh, he's having a drink. Yes, if I'd looked at these in order, I'd have seen that the picture before was the same wasp having a bath or taking a drink or both. I don't really like getting that close to big wasps, especially not Australian wasps, because I cannot imagine that they are friendly. Look at this. I didn't even know wasps could float. That is impressive, Bruce. You really are the king of this outdoor handheld stuff, and your wasp in flight that preceded that one is one of the nicest of its kind I've seen. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. Tell us, I know that everybody's going to want to know, Bruce, what how did you shoot this? You were using a Tamron 90mm lens and your big Canon. What were your settings? What kind of speed did you have to shutter speed to stop those wings? Or these wings here, even better. Tell us what those camera settings were, and if you did anything else like point a flash up there. I bet you didn't. These are just lovely. Now, he definitely was drinking the water because his water bolus got a lot smaller. Yeah, incredible. Okay, guys, that's show and tell over for now. Let me find OBS and I'll switch back to moi. There we go. It was Jamie that I was trying to think of the name of who had asked me to do the criteria thing for the photo competition. The photo competition for the month of February, which is 1/4 of the way through, is You Must Be Joking. That is the theme. That's also the instruction. You must be joking. You have to send me something funny. It doesn't have to be hysterically funny, but it should be funny to me. Well, not even to me, just anybody, just mildly amusing. And it has to be small. So something small, something funny. And that's it. The reason I'm not having you go out and shoot wasps is that, you know, for the rest of us, it's still winter here. So this is something you can do indoors. Use your imaginations, come up with something humorous, and take a picture of it and send it in. And yeah, it needs to be a good picture, though. That's important. This is a photography competition after all. I am going to try to get the rest of the year's themes published sometime in the spring so that you can plan ahead. And I'm going to do the same with the prizes, and that's one last announcement I need to make about the competition. And that is, even though we have some physical prizes to give out and will give out, there are a lot of people who are entering the competition who are not from the US. And I know you hate to hear me bang on about this, but the way shipping is, sending a large or a, you know, so one of the things I've got is a macro tent, a lighting tent to send out. The thing weighs a ton, and it's ginormous. It would be prohibitive to send it to Australia or Trinidad or Peru or wherever you are. So in those instances, I'm going to give you the option, and I'm going to beg you to take the option of instead of taking the prize, unless you absolutely want the prize, you can trade it in for private lessons. And private lessons, which go for $200 an hour, you will get, at a bare minimum, even if the prize was $10, you'd get the full hour. So that's a prize that I'm going to be giving away periodically, and we'll see if anybody wants it. It seems like an odd prize. It seems more like a punishment than a prize, but there you go. It's the one thing I have of value that I can give that might be useful to you, or might not. And you can pick anything you want to study for that hour or 2 hours or whatever it is you win. Techniques, or I can help you with your rig, I can help you modify your rig, whatever it is you want to do. You'll have my undivided attention for that time. Let's see if there's any questions. There is money showing up in the chat thing. Amy $5, thank you so much. And Bill, thank you. Bruce, $5. This is awesome. I'll tell you what, wonderful. I've said it once, I'll say it again. I definitely have the best YouTube audience in the world, no doubt about it. Kevin's joined us. Hey, Kevin. All right. Fred, what do you mean you're not game enough to take a photo of a wasp? Sure you are. You can do that. We're going to be doing a lot more outdoor stuff this year. This winter has been, too much indoors for me. So we're going to be getting outdoors and doing some fun stuff. Now I've got a camera that works. Yay, for outdoors. Okay, let me see. Jan, you were gone before I had an opportunity to thank you for your generous donation last week. Thank you so much. What microscope objective would I use for Canon EF? From Mizo Hano. Well, it doesn't make any difference. The camera that you're using is the least important piece of the equipment that you have. The Canon EF is a full frame. I'm assuming that's the designation for the lens size, right? But that's for full frame cameras. If it's a full frame, then the microscope objective that's going to give you the best coverage is probably the Nikon CFI Plan. Is an infinity corrected objective that gives a very large image circle and will serve you well. You can use it with a 200mm relay lens at 10 times magnification, or you can use it with a 100mm relay lens at 5 times magnification, pretty much covering everything you would need from a $200 objective, which is a small fraction of what you would pay for a Mitutoyo 10X, which is over $1,000, or a Mitutoyo 5X to go with it, which is over $600. So yeah, it's a good way to go. Nikon CFI Plan. It's a metallurgic infinity corrected microscope objective. It doesn't have a very long working distance. It's only 10.5 millimeters, which is not a lot of room to get light in, but it's, for the price, it's well worth it. Okay, you see, that question almost didn't get answered because I couldn't see it, because it didn't have a thingamajig. Are these blue things, these green flags, significant around Bruce's name and Carlos's name? It says celebrate the first super chat from Carlos. Okay, that was it. Then there's one from Bruce, and What is Bill's? Bill's super chat is orange, so that must be worth an even better display of jollity. I'll have to think about that one. All right, insect eyes, 100 millimeters, 2.8. Give me some context to what that question means, Mizo. Oh, you do, down below. I'm not even sure what to put on. I have a 25mm Canon extension tube, a bellow for EF, and a 10mm f2.8. Oh my goodness. You know what you need to do, Mizo? You need to go to a place called Discord. I have a what do you call it? A server over there on Discord, Allan Wall's Photography. There is an invitation in the show description from this video that will be a link, an invitation for you to join Discord. All of these people that you see around you, and many, many more, hundreds more, who are big time macro fans and very knowledgeable about what we do, they will help you sort out what you need to do with your equipment, because it's too big, it's too complicated a question to answer now, because it would take the rest of the night actually. But if you go over to Discord and just tell people you're looking for some help, they'll tell you where to go in a nice way. They'll tell you what part of Discord to go to, and people there will help you sort it out. And if they don't, I'll come over there and I'll help you sort it out. Okay? All right, great. And there you go. And right after I said that, I read a note from P85 who says that he's going to... you're talking about the article that you were writing. Yes. Please do. Please do. I'd love to hear what you've come up with about this EL-Nick Raynox combination. It never occurred to me. It really never did. And I thought I'd tried every lens combination I had. Which enlarger lens, Pete? It's the L-Nick or 50mm f2.8N. There are others, but this is the sweet spot. This is just right. A wider lens will give you more magnification, of course, but they're much harder to deal with and they're not nearly as flat. And anything longer than this, reverse, doesn't really give you any magnification. So this is right in the sweet spot. And it's a beautiful combination. So Mizo, did I deal with your... No, you don't need an enlarger lens. You've got it. If you've got a 50mm camera lens, you're set. You can do macro like I did for 5 years with that lens alone. So you don't have to buy anything. If you chat with the folks over on Discord, tell them what you've got, what you're trying to do, they'll tell you how to put it together. There is a 4 times magnification microscope objective made by Amscope that costs $21. That is a great lens. You're going to need more extension tubes than you have, but that is a great lens, easy to use, very bright, clear pictures, get you really into macro with one of those. But if you do decide to get an enlarger lens, again, Discord's the place to go. Or read one of my articles on it, because we have articles on all these enlarger lenses, and there are several good ones. There are some that are still made today, and they're more expensive and beautiful optics, but the ones that I mostly recommend are the ones that are no longer made, the Nikon ones. But anyway, greetings, Robert. I'm glad you made it this evening, and I wonder if it's still raining down there in Ocala. It's been raining here today too. All right, P85 would love to see that. I'm thinking about buying an EL-Nick, already have a Raynox 250 and extension tubes. That's Alistair was talking to P85, but I'm going to butt in there and say, yeah, you really ought to buy that. The Raynox I've been using with it is a 150, not a 250. That is going to make a difference. But certainly the pictures I showed you earlier on of the Weevil were taken with a 150 behind a reversed EL Nikkor 50mm. All right. Oh, Amy has the Nikon 10X, and you took your first pictures with it this weekend. Any good? They're not the easiest objectives to use because of the short working distance, but they are easier than most because they have such a big image circle, which certainly helps. I definitely want to see some of these pictures, Amy. And by the way, the CFI plan on short focus at about 135mm, which gives you about about 6.2 times magnification, is unbelievably sharp. It is really sharp. It of course falls off towards the edges like the Mitutoyos do, but it's a great lens. You ought to try it that way too. Use the 125mm Raynox if you've got the 250. All right. So Alistair doesn't own it yet, but you've got the 63 2.8N. That's a good lens too, I hear. I am hopefully going to get to take one of those for a test drive this spring or summer. I hope so. All right. Australian wasps are friendlier than European ones. Right. Okay, I don't believe that. We'll get a show of hands. I meant to do a poll tonight. I had some questions I wanted to ask you about things that we do on the live stream, and I wanted to get some feedback, and I figured out how to do the poll and then got busy with something else and forgot to set it up. I'll do it next time. But we'll do an informal poll. Let me think of a good question. If I only get one question, it needs to count. Let me see. Where are we? Yes, everybody's telling Bruce how nice his pictures are. You better, or he'll... This is an actual size wasp, by the way. It's just a bit smaller than I am. It's a friendly Australian wasp. So be sure to tell Bruce they're beautiful. That's... because that's a fact. And great shots. Red-eyed loon, nice. Very good. What's a consolation prize, Fred? I actually gave away a Nikkor 50mm. It was an f2.8. Yes, we gave that away as a prize last month. Of course, I say we gave it away as a prize, but Robert gave it away as a prize. Robert Wester donated it so that it could be given as a prize. Here's a question that I'd like to have answered. Is there anybody out there in this group who is into slide digitization? Or slide copying, or still making slides themselves? Robert also donated a beautiful slide duplicator. It's the device you use to digitize slides or to copy slides, and it's beautiful. It comes with a bellows attachment and the whole 9 yards. It's everything that you would need. I have been reluctant to put it up as a prize because I don't get the feeling that there are many people who are not using digital out there. So let me know. Let me know this evening if any of you guys would be interested in that as a prize. Otherwise, I don't want to put it up until we've got some interest in it, and we'll just keep doing other things in the meantime. I'm going to have a sip of my water. I felt like I was getting a cold at the weekend and it went away, but not completely. All right. You need to make a hood for it. Yes, you do. And something else you might want to do, Amy, I stopped doing it, but I know a lot of people who still do it, is cut out a little piece of black felt and glue it to the end of the objective. Let me get it. They make the flocking material, and that's perfect to use. But the problem with this particular lens, and this is the one that you have, I believe. This lens, the Nikon Plan 10x at 0.25 NA. This objective has a very shiny, reflective silver end on it, and that is not a good thing for what we're doing. It can bounce light right onto your subject, but it can also bounce light right back into the objective. If you cut a disc of flocking material, I use a metal hole punch. It's a little bar of metal that's got a ring at the end. They use it in leather crafts, and a hammer, and you whack it really good, and it punches a hole in the stuff. Then do it with a bigger punch, and it leaves you with a ring. And I just glue the ring on the end there. You could also use one of those reinforcing rings from binders. Just paint it black and glue that on, or stick that on the end. There's any number of ways you can do it, but the other thing is just putting a hood on it, like that. This is a tube of foam and Gorilla Tape. It actually belongs on that. So there you go. Brilliant. After drinking, wasps sometimes disgorge drops. Bruce, that was unnecessarily gross and graphic, but it's balanced out with some camera settings. It's the Canon R7. He was shooting at 1/320th. Let me put the flying picture back up so that you can see what we're talking about. This one. So his settings were 1/320th of a second at f8 and ISO 200. 3 flashes were used. The wasps don't land in the best place for the flashes 90% of the time. Well, yeah, but that's any insect ever doesn't land in the right place for the flash. Though that is going to change this spring. I am the proud custodian of one of Cognis's most fantastic pieces of equipment. It's their in-flight insect photographing rig, and it was donated by Jan Nelson to the cause. And I've got this thing set up, and it uses laser beams and lidars and radars and all kinds of other things like that to capture insects in flight as they break the beam of this thing, and it fires off a high-speed shutter. So we're going to be taking that thing out to some of my favorite insect spots and doing some videos outdoors. Did you hear that? I think another angel just got his wings. Yeah, I'm supposed to check that message, I'm sure, but I'll have to do it later. Let me see. This is usually a bad sign when my messages go off like this. It usually means I am no longer on the air. And let me see. Oh my goodness! Yep, Carlos has been doing computer stuff in the background, and I think you're probably seeing the evidence of it. Okay, all right. Let me see. Photographer 85 has done a fair share of digitizing slides and negatives as well as antique glass plates, but mainly with a scanner. Okay, yes, from Larry, digitizing, designing a rig right now to work a little faster than the Nikon ES1. Okay. Many years ago, Fred had a scanner and did all his mother's pictures. Adam digitized a few thousand slides over the last few years. All right, now, are you guys interested in getting the Nikon slide digitizer? I should go get it, shouldn't I? Well, no, I'll tell you what. Next week, I will bring it in from the other room, and we'll look at it together. And I'll probably announce that as the prize for February. Does that sound reasonable? Good. What's the prize for January? I don't know yet. I don't know. I'll have to think of something. It looks like a lot of people do work with slides, so that's fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, let me see. I may have covered this before, asked David, but what would be a good lightweight mirrorless camera to replace the Canon 80D? You're using the 100mm L, which you love. Your Canon 80D is quite noisy. Yeah, it is. It really, getting a newer camera is a good idea. Well, people I know have raved about the... are you looking for full frame or APS-C? That's, I guess, an important question. Everybody I know that shoots mirrorless is raving about the Canon, the R7, the one that Bruce shot the Wasps with. The Nikon, well, if you're shooting Canon, you've got Canon glass, right? So yeah, well, you've got the Canon 100 anyway. I would have to guess that the R7 would be your best bet. I really don't know. I'll tell you what, there's a bunch of Canon mirrorless shooters on here tonight. So why don't one of you guys jump in and tell David what you think would be the best replacement for a Canon 80D? I really ought to know more about Canon, but I've only ever had the full frame Mark III D5 or whatever it was in my hands for a few weeks this summer, and I did love it. It's a nice camera. Nice and heavy too, but yeah. All right, so Gilles has digitized all of his slides over the years using a scanner, but would you mess around with an optical enlarger? I wonder. Maybe not. Yeah, great. Okay, Dave. Great suggestion about flocking, hooding the Nikon 10. Never thought of this. You know, David, it doesn't always help. It's one of those things that are so tricky to predict that it most of the time you're not going to get light reflecting back off the end of that objective into the objective. But when you do, if you don't think about it, it's very perplexing. It's the same with the Mitutoyos, which are shiny silver all over. And as your numeric aperture gets bigger and bigger and bigger as you go up in magnification till you get to something like that at 20 times magnification on a silver shiny objective like this, you can gather a lot of light in there, and you know that off-axis light turns your picture, sorry about that noise, turns your picture hazy. You lose contrast, and it ruins pictures. So there's a trick that I use with the Amscope 4X, the one I was telling our new visitor about. This is a $20 lens. It cost me $16 when it came out, I think, the first one I bought. The outer barrel comes off, and if you take it off, it adds a lot of, not a lot, it adds a cone area that you can get light in a little bit closer, because this has a short working distance too. So just by unscrewing that, this is now $21, but a real bargain. Very bright, very fun objective. This is the best gateway objective going. You can learn a lot about using finite objectives from this. Most of the objectives you're going to find used in junk shops and what have you are going to be like this. They're going to be finite objectives. You're not going to ever run into something like this at a thrift shop, unfortunately. If you would, I would already have done it. I showed you these last week. I did. This is Robert's collection of antique lenses, and I am working my way through them to try to find one that takes really good pictures. And I'm afraid that other than being nice and sharp in the middle, the Bausch and Lombs are, the others are just too hard to use. The working distance of this lens. This is a phase contrast 63 times magnification lens, a Neo Fluor with a 0.90. That is the numeric aperture, 0.90. And this thing is horrible. Horrible to try to get a picture with. It is so sensitive to the glass of the cover slip that it actually comes with an adjustable, it ought to be, there it is, an adjustable turret at the top for changing the length of this thing, so that it will adapt to the cover slip thickness. I haven't been able to get a single picture with it because the working distance is 1/2 of a millimeter. It's 0.4 millimeters. It's less than that, 0.4 millimeters, which is craziness. But it is a gorgeous lens. I mean, it's so well made. Beautiful, beautiful thing. But yeah, you won't be seeing any pictures on my website that were taken at 63x, I don't think. All right. Joseph says I'm still on the air. That's good. Oh, and it was Carlos was dinging me. Carlos, there's the unwritten rule that if my phone goes off, makes any noise at all during a live stream, it's one of my friends from Patreon to tell me that my picture just disappeared or my voice is garbled. It's never good news, so I always clinch when I get that the message come through. All right, so Tom's got a whole box of slides that he needs to digitize. Well, Tom, then you'll have to win the competition. Think of something funny. David is looking for an APS-C camera for his Canon lenses and wants something lightweight and compact. R7, right? Let's see what everybody says. Bruce loves the R7. 33 megapixels, so cropping works well. There's a bit of noise above 400, but it's easy to get under control in raw software. But it's APS-C, so not as good as full frame. Well, I'll tell you what, I agree that the way to go for field macro is full frame, in my opinion. It just is, the image quality is just better. I've always thought that. But in the studio, I would never use full frame. I can't afford the volume of data it produces. These pictures are ginormous, and I used full frame camera this weekend to shoot a whole bunch of stacks, and it crashed my computer when Lightroom just said not anymore. I'm taking a break. All right, yeah. Well, it looks like a lot of people are interested in maybe getting their hands on the slide doodad. Oh, and P85 already has it, so there you go. All right, I've got one too. I don't know where it is though. It's in one of my boxes on my shelf, but I think it's hidden behind Decon 90. No, I don't know where. That's a bad thing to misplace your slide duplicator, but I don't know what I did with it. Okay, let me see. Any questions? P85, unless I'm mistaken, the phase contrast lens also requires a phase contrast condenser. Well, it does to use it as a microscope objective, but you can actually take pictures with it like that. I talked to Rick about it, and he explained how you'd set it up and do it, but it can definitely be done. He recommended shooting using a vertical rig and a sub-stage light box. Yeah, I haven't done it. It sounds too complicated, really. But yeah, if you were to use it as a microscope objective, you would need to have the right kind of condenser. And phase contrast microscopy is quite difficult. Oh, I was going to show you the ring that makes it a phase contrast. I think it's easier to see on the 10X, which is also a phase contrast objective. But if you look through the hole, this is going to be difficult to do. You can see a black ring in there. Do you see it? Hang on. Maybe easier at 63. Look in the other end. Yeah, there you can see it. Isn't that impressive? That black ring is what allows the contrast to be manipulated so that you can get the effects you do from the phase contrast microscopy. It's that black ring in there. Anyway, let me see. Older finite objectives are only partially corrected for spherical and chromatic aberrations, says Joseph, and the matching eyepiece provides the rest of the correction. Right, but that's fairly variable as to how much of the correction is in the objective and how much is in the eyepiece. There are some objectives that are really well corrected in the objective alone and don't need the eyepiece. I guess that's one of the reasons the CFI plan is so popular. But anyway, there you go. So yeah, the problem with older objectives as well, of course, is they don't have coatings, so they tend to be prone to flare. Let me see. To take sharp pictures, you need a projection eyepiece that matches the objectives. You can mount it on a tube, just like you do a tube lens with an infinity objective. There you go. Alrighty. So David is going to start thinking about full frame as well. And you're almost exclusively outdoors, mosses, lichens, and tiny flowers. I would say if you were doing that kind of work, you're almost certainly going to end up getting one of these higher magnification lenses for your macro, one of these layers or an old MPE 65, which would be made for your camera, and they're not made anymore, but they are still being sold. And if you get something like that, you really do want full frame. I think the MPE 65 does cover full frame up to like 4x. Does that sound right? Does anybody have that combination? I'm not really sure. But gosh, that was a terrible answer to your question. All I can say is that for out in the field, full frame is the way to go for me. Of course, I don't always just take macro pictures. When I'm outdoors with a full frame camera, I'll take lots of pictures of other things as well that are interesting or nice to look at. I am a photographer as well as a macro photographer. Okay, Joseph uses a lot of Nikon CF objectives and have an Nikon CF Plan 2.5 projection eyepiece. Cool. That would be. I'd love to see some pictures of that. That would be something to do a show and tell here one day, maybe. If you'd like to send me a couple of pictures, that would be very cool. All right, let me see. Full frame Canon R5, that's the way to go. And of course, as Phil points out, with these full frame cameras, they have a crop mode, so you can take the camera outdoors and shoot APS-C size pictures with it, which always to me seems a bit ridiculous. If I'm going to carry around a camera that weighs what that D850 does, I'm going to take big pictures with it. But there you go. The Nikon bellows and slide duplicator can also be used as a bellows alone. Ideally, you can match the bellows with an EL Nikkor 50 f2.8 enlarging lens. Yes, absolutely, you can. It is not the same experience as using the PB6 bellows or even the PB4. The bellows that come with the slide duplicator came out actually before the PB4, so it's like a PB2, I think. Before they called it a PB anything, it was it's the Edition 2, I think it's called. It's a smaller bellows. It's not particularly long. It's not super sturdy, but it's well made, beautifully made, and it has the enlargement distances engraved on the tracks. I'll bring it next time and we'll look at it. Okay, Robert, the Nikon bellows and slide duplicator can also... Oh, that's what Robert was saying, because Robert gave it to us. That's how we knew. Well, Robert, unfortunately, I'll have to get another 50 f2.8 because I gave the first one away as a prize for the photography competition a couple of months ago. And boy, that was a great prize to have. Yeah, I'll start looking for one right now. MPE 65 coverage increases with increasing magnification. Okay. That doesn't sound correct, but I'll take your word for it. Yeah, the R5 costs more than $4, David. I would say you'd have to keep writing those dollar bill things out for a long time. They are expensive. I know that the Nikon, which I almost certainly will end up going with whatever the equivalent of the Z7 is, but boy, they're expensive. But they're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. All the bells and whistles. Guys, it is getting close. Oh gosh, it's past quitting time. Sorry, I've run over again. And I've got editing to do tonight, so I'm going to call it quits right now. Thank you for coming, everybody. Thank you for participating. And if you can make it on Thursday, that'll be great. If you can't, I'll see you next week. The photo competition will, one way or the other, if all I do is release the results, it'll be out tomorrow. And I am terribly sorry about the delay in doing that. And great things are on the way, so don't give up on us just yet. With so many fantastic things are getting ready to happen that you'll definitely want to be part of it. Good night, have a good week, and I'll see you again soon.